10 easy ways you can make your journal or planner more aesthetic, a guide for beginners. In this video, I will share with you some of my favorite journaling supplies that I reach for over and over again, tips on how you can easily make your journal or planner more aesthetic, and a short guided tutorial on how you can use different stationery to make your pages look beautiful. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Seppi and I share with you simple and practical tips to live a happier life, and I'm very excited to share with you all my best tips and tricks and advice that I have gathered over the years to create aesthetic spreads in your journal or planner. And I really wanted to make it beginner friendly. That way you can feel like you can actually take away some tangible advice to apply to your journals and planners. So let's get into it. So let's first talk about what you need to create an aesthetic spread in your journal or planner. You probably click on this video because you want to make aesthetic and creative pages. However, I do want to preface by saying that you do not need to spend a lot of money to journal or to make your pages look aesthetic. I will be sharing with you the stationery that I have been using and that I do reach for over and over again and that I do love. However, if you're just getting started, I want you to be very mindful of what you buy and how much you buy, because I don't want you to just end up with a lot of stationery that you won't use. Get inspired by this video, use what you have, maybe invest in a few items if you do feel excited about it, but don't feel as though you have to go out and spend a lot of money to get creative and make aesthetic pages. As you will see in the video, I will share with you some tips on things that you can use that you probably have laying around already to just make beautiful pages. And if down the line you find as though you are really into it, then by all means go ahead and buy all the supplies, all the stationery. But I just don't want you to just go spending a lot of money without thinking it through, without actually being very intentional with what you buy and what you bring in. So now that we have that out of the way, let's talk stationery and things that you might want to consider buying if you want to create aesthetic and beautiful pages in your journals and planners. The first thing you have to consider, of course, is a journal and the planner that you want to use. And the first step is to determine how you plan on using your journal or planner to then decide which one you want to buy. So as a general rule, if you want to use your journal for creative pages and for writing, so a bit of both, I recommend the A5 medium journal, the bullet journal specifically from Leuchtturm Canada, because the pages can handle the writing and actually sticking things in it. It handles fountain pens really well. It handles highlighters really well. It handles sticking things in it really well. And then when you put glue on and on the other side it kind of gets wrinkly, the paper, it doesn't do that in this journal because the paper is quite thick, but not thick enough for it to be too bulky. So as an overall recommendation, the A5 bullet journal I do recommend, and the quality you get for the price is really worth it. Now, if you want a journal exclusive to writing, I recommend something a little bit smaller, especially if you're just getting started. The B6 is a perfect size. It's not too big, but it is the perfect size. This is a new addition for me this year. I exclusively use my B6 journal for daily journaling. The paper is great. It handles fountain pen great, and there's not a lot of bleeding and there's not a lot of showing through the pages, as you can see here. And the size is not too big that it feels like it's overwhelming. And if you want to add some decoration like I did in the front page, you can still do so and incorporate some decorative elements into your journal. When you are purchasing a journal, what you have to focus on is ultimately the quality of the paper and the size, depending on your needs and what you're using it for, to make sure it can handle the products you're going to be using in it, as well as what you're going to be using in it. So if you are going to be using more artsy things, if you are going to use things like paint or acrylic or watercolor or a lot more fountain pens, then I would recommend getting a journal with 120 GSM paper. It is a lot thicker and can handle a lot more. Again, Leuchtturm Canada also has the 120 GSM journal option as well. So that could be a good option for you depending on the reason why you want to start journaling. However, if you want to do more basic journaling, my overall recommendation, like I said, is the bullet journal. Or if you want to do it even more basic, then the A5 medium journal in the dot grid pattern is just as good. This is actually the one I have been using for 8 years. It's the first year I'm using the bullet journal, but overall the A5 medium journal from Leuchtturm is perfectly fine as well. The price point for the quality of Leuchtturm products is great, I have to say, which is why I have been using them for so many years. So those are my recommendations when it comes to journals. And I do have a 20% discount code if you want to get any of these journals. I will leave the discount code and the information in the description box. You can use code HAPPY20 at checkout to get 20% off everything from Leuchtturm Canada. Now let's talk about writing instruments. The first thing is a black pen. A black pen is the most basic thing you need to journal, whether you're writing or drawing. I think that it's an essential. I personally like a gel pen because it's a lot more opaque and the gel does make it really smooth and easy to write. I will leave my top recommendations in the description box below. But what you have to consider when buying a gel pen, you want to focus on the nib size and the paper that you are using. Depending on the journal you have and the pen you have, it is going to react differently. So you do have to test it out and see what you prefer. You are going to have to consider also the size of the pen, how it feels in your hand. This is, for example, the Leuchtturm gel pen. It's a lot smaller, but it does feel nice and weighty. This is the Muji pen. I don't have a black one with me, but I do love the gray one. So you have a lot of different options. You do have to test it out here and there as well, but I will leave my top recommendations in the description box. I am going to be pulling out a lot of my older journals and planners, and I went through them and put tabs to show you the pages that are relevant to what I'm talking about. So that's what these are. But going back to what I was saying, in terms of nibs overall over 0.5 millimeters can start to feel thick, especially if the lines or the grid in the journal are small, and that will make it really messy really quickly. For example, this is my Hobonichi cousin. The grid here is quite smaller compared to the dot grid spacing in the bullet journal, and when I'm looking at a 0.5 nib gel pen nib, it does work really well. However, when I was using a fountain pen that was a little bit bigger with a bigger nib, as you can see, it is spreading a little bit more and it can easily look a lot messier, especially depending on your handwriting. So just bear that in mind when you are looking into pens and gel pens. If you don't have any experience, I would just say start with a 0.5 nib. Now, if you see here, I also have, this is like a thinner gel pen. This looks, as you can see, a lot better, and I'm not doing anything crazy here. It's just the colors of the pens that are different. So consider the nib size. If you are looking for pens that are different nib sizes, one thing that I will recommend is the Micron Pigma pen sets, because it comes in different nib sizes and you can use them for different purposes, for doodling, for drawing, for writing. So this is a good beginner set as well, especially if I'm going to get into doodling or drawing or faux calligraphy or lettering. But the Micron Pigma set is a good set to start off because it does provide with different nib sizes. The 03 and the 05 are my two favorite in terms of just regular writing and lettering, and the smaller ones, the 01 and the 005, are my favorite when it comes to doodling and drawing smaller things. The easiest way you can make your journal more fun is by changing the color of your pen. Even combining colors or alternating colors on the same page can add a cool effect without much effort, as you can see here and here and even here. There are colored pens that you can get for doodling or drawing. Again, we're going back to the Pigma Micron set here that I have, the 01 size. There's different colors that you can get. There's different brands that you can get as well that have different colors, different types of nibs to, you know, either write or doodle as well. I do like the Uni Emote set as well. It has really beautiful and unique colors as well. Another really big fan favorite is the Sarasa Zebra pen. I have, for example, this really cool multicolored one that my friend got for me in Japan. Another really good standard one that is mostly accessible if you have access to Muji is the Muji pens, the gel pens, the 0.5, 0.38 or 0.8 sizes as well. They have them in different colors. This is another really good starter set as well. Now, for my daily journaling, I personally love using fountain pens because it's an easy way to elevate the experience of writing. It makes me feel really fancy, and there's so many different ink options, and it's really easy to change up the ink color because you can get a cartridge and just get different types of ink and change it up. And at the same time, you can really change up your ink color as often as you choose. For example, this is a beautiful pink that I've been playing around with. I just find using fountain pen a really just easy way to elevate my experience and make me enjoy it even more. You can even get inks that have some shimmer to it, like these ones from Ferris Wheel Press. I have this really gold one and this really beautiful deep wine color, and these are really, again, really fun to add just like a simple way to elevate your journal or planner by using different types of ink, different colors, etc. I also have a 10% discount code for Ferris Wheel Press if you want to grab a fountain pen Japan. If you want to grab any of their beautiful shimmery inks, which is what I really love from them as well, I will leave the information for Ferris Wheel Press inks in the description box below. You can use code HBS for 10% off at checkout. Another really simple way to jazz up your page, and my personal favorite, are highlighters. You can use them to add different headers and create separation on the page. You can add them for lettering like I did over here, and I will show you a small tutorial at the end of this video to show you how I do them. You can use highlighters like this to create separation and to add color. I love how these pages turned out. You can also just use it as a marker and color in a drawing, so I use it here as well to draw in the titles. I use it for some lettering here. If there's one thing that I recommend that you do buy, it is highlighters, because you can use it as markers, you can use it to draw, you can use it for so many different things, and there's so many amazing options. Overall, my top recommendation personally are the midliner highlighters, because you have a big variety of colors, and at the same time there's two sides to it. You have a side that's more of a nib, where you can use it as a highlighter or to draw lines and separation, and the other side is a fine line. That way you can use this for writing, for coloring as well. They're just really versatile and they last you so long. I've had some of these probably for 5-6 years, and the color payoff is just as good. And I've added some more in my collection as well, like these ones, which are a lot more muted colors, and I love them as well. And the cool thing about the Zebra brand is that you can get a set. So if you're looking to get colored gel pens as well as a highlighter, getting a set like this is worthwhile, because you get everything in one without having to figure out what to get or which ones to get, and it comes at a bit of a better price as well, and you get a full set to get you started. And then if you do decide that you want to expand your horizons and try different things, that you can get different brands or different sets from them as well. So this is a really good starter set if you are a beginner. Another brand that is really recommended and everyone talks about are the Tombow pens as well. I don't have as many of them. I do want to get a few more. The cool thing about these ones is that they have a lettering pen here, which is more for calligraphy and lettering, and they have a fine side as well. In terms of being a beginner, the midliner is more easy and more versatile, I find. I personally do calligraphy, so I can use the other side, but I still have a hard time with it. But the colors of the Tombow are also really beautiful and a really good option as well. Another really easy way to add elements to your page, especially if you don't have a lot of time, or maybe you're not good at drawing or lettering, are stickers and washi tapes. In terms of washi tapes, there's many different ways that you can use them. For example, this one I really liked how I did it. I kind of cut every single page to make them a bit different, and then you use it as a tab. So this looks really cool as well. You can use the washi tape as a header just to make the page a little bit more beautiful. If you actually look at this page, it's quite simple. What it is the lettering, it's the highlighter that I used, and then the washi tape, and then a gray pen. It's not that complicated, but I think that it still looks beautiful, and it is also quite functional. And then you can even use it in your planner just to add a few little separate elements. I have these petal stickers that I had gotten as well. So this is a really easy way to jazz up and make your spread look a little bit more aesthetic. So this is the washi tape. And the other thing that you can get as well to make your spreads just a little bit more cute are to get stickers. This is the washi tape, and these are little stickers that add just a little fun touch. And I do find that someone like me that is not that great at doodling or does take me time, stickers is a really fun and easy way to just make the page look a lot more cute and to make a theme out of it. I will leave my favorite Etsy shop and brand recommendations in the description box below if you want to check that out, just so I can help promote other brands and other small businesses so that you can shop from them as well. So going back to basics, a few things that are really helpful and you might have lying around are your basic stationery that you will be needing. So kind of self-explanatory, but I still wanted to mention it. That way you can actually expand your horizons and start thinking about what you already have that you can use. Scissors for washi tape for cutting pages, etc. Ruler, self-explanatory for lines. I find having a little one that I can put directly in my pen case is really easy, makes it really accessible. An eraser, because I like to to draw out the page and what I'm going to be doing before actually drawing in the lines. A compass. This one I think I've had since I'm like 8 or 9 years old, literally, and it's still great. It's still wonderful. I use it to make circles. I mean, kind of obvious, but I use it to make circles and add a really interesting touch to my different pages as well. This is another way that I had used my compass, or sometimes doing like a half moon. So think about the stationery that you already have and you probably can just use. And then the last thing that I'll mention for your basic stationery that you can use to make your pages more aesthetic is glue. You can get the typical glue stick, or you can get this double-sided glue tape that you can use to glue on. I find that this one is quite good compared to a glue stick. The glue stick does add a little bit of crunching in the paper on the other side. However, if you use this, you can just use a little bit and it doesn't feel like there's anything in the back. So I do recommend grabbing a double-sided tape if you can. They're really inexpensive online as well. Stamps is the next thing that I want to talk about, and it's something that I haven't gotten into fully yet, but the ones that I do have, I do love. So for example, I have this little set here with letters. I have the self-inking date stamp that I use in my daily journal once in a while, but it just adds a small touch and it just makes it look really cute, especially on days when you don't feel like doing your own lettering. I do find having stamps does help, and I am going to be probably exploring my stamp collection to try and grow it. The next thing that you can use for creating aesthetic spreads are ephemera, and it can be things that you buy or things that you keep throughout the week when you go out and you see a business card or a menu or a pamphlet that inspires you or that you want to keep as a memory that you can use in your journal. This is something that I do as well. When I have my weekly journaling session, I sit down and do some journaling, and if there's any stickers that I saw or any business cards, I keep them to add into my memory pages, and I find it just a really fun way to add different elements to my journal. You can also buy ephemera. They have different sets. There's so many different options. I will leave the ones that I've purchased that I do love, and you can get them from Amazon on different websites, and I organize them in these binders by theme. You can pull these out and create an aesthetic spread in your planner or in your journal. I do creative spreads in my journal. I also have done them in my planner because I do like to make things. Sometimes I just felt like doing creative pages, and it's just a really easy way to make your journal prettier. You don't have to do this, but I do find that it is quite fun if you eventually want to get into it. Now, I have been journaling for almost 10 years. I only got into ephemera since last year, so don't feel as though if this feels overwhelming, you don't need to get into it. I'm just trying to broaden your horizons and give you as much information as possible. So here are a few tips on how to make your pages look more Pinterest worthy. The first tip is to stick to one color scheme. Pick a color scheme, whether it's pastels, brights, greens, purples, or stick to maybe maximum 2 colors that work together. This will make your page look a lot more cohesive, and there is less chance of clashing elements, as you can see on this page as well as this page. I stuck to more grays and pinks and neutrals on this page. Tip number 2 is to leave white spaces, because by doing that you give the eye a visual break to be able to wander and look through all the different elements of your page instead of crowding everything and putting everything too close together. This is a really good example of it. You can leave a white space as a border around the page, or you can put everything in the middle of the page and leave white space around it, or you can do white spaces between different elements like I did here, between the different elements of your page. As you can see here, this page is quite aesthetic because it's not crowded. There's a lot of white space that allows your eyes to not get too overwhelmed. Tip number 3 is to test out your writing tools with your journal and planner, because like I said, the ink, the nib size, and the paper of the journal will react differently together. Some will react well, some will not. This pink, for example, in this journal looked very different than it did in another journal. The opaque gel pen in this nib size looks very different than the smaller gray nib size. So you just have to test it out, see what works, see what doesn't work. One thing that you can do is always have a page at the end of your journal or planner to test out the different pens and see how they react. That way you can have a page where you can refer to the different colors, different ideas as well, and you can see how the pen reacts before you even test it out and try it in an actual page. Tip number 4 is to spend a bit of time to get inspired. Before you get started on creating a page, take a few minutes to get inspired on Pinterest or on Instagram. Especially at the beginning, it's easier to first get inspired and to try and mimic other pages that you've seen so that you can practice and start getting a sense of your style, get ideas, and get a hang of journaling. And once you feel a little bit more confident, a little bit more comfortable, then you can start exploring and just seeing what comes through to you, what gets you excited, what gets you inspired, and using your stationery and the things that you've purchased to get inspired and create pages. Which leads me to tip number 5, which is use what you have. Yes, I'm sharing with you some of my go-to things that I love, that I do recommend, that I like and have tried, but I also love to look at my stationery stash and pick out a few pens, highlighters, washi tapes, and using that as my inspiration instead of always going out and buying things. This is also a great way to make sure that you're using what you have. Whatever you have on hand is also perfectly okay. Gathering ephemera throughout the week and using that is perfectly okay. Like I mentioned before, you can also get inspired when you are out and about, picking out things and picking up pieces of paper that just inspire you, that you find beautiful. You don't have to buy a lot to make creative spreads. Now that I have taught you all the tips that I have learned along the years, I'm going to create a simple spread in the daily pages of my Hobonichi cousin. This is my planner, so that I can show you a tutorial for some of the elements that I have talked about in this video, and I can show you in real time how to do some of the things that I have mentioned, and it can be like a little tutorial that you can do along with me as well. So I did this off camera, but the first thing that I always do before I create a spread is I look at my stationery and I see what inspires me. So what I did is I pulled out all my washi tape. I have a few more of these containers that I got at Muji. I looked at my washi tape, I looked at my pens, and I thought to myself, what feels inspiring to me? And then from there, I pulled out the few that I thought that worked well together. So this beautiful deep red roses washi tape with a really random, just like a splatter gold one that works perfectly with this midliner highlighter, as well as black pens, and this shimmery ink that I have from Ferris Wheel Press that I have been using. Another tip that I will share with you right now as well, especially if you have a planner, and I've mentioned this in previous videos as well, is once you have a formula, you can stick to it. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest, this is a theme that I have been using for the last few days, and I just love how it looks. So I just want to continue with doing the same thing, but I'm going to show you a little bit more how to do some of the elements that I've talked about, so I will make it slightly different instead of just making it this way. So let me bring you in closer and let's get into the tutorial of some of the things that I have been talking about to make your page look aesthetic. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to show you how to do the lettering using the midliner highlighter, the fine side of it, as well as using just a gel pen or a pen, the Micron Pigma, the 01, that works perfectly for this. So my planner, my daily spread is for my life and organizing everything. So on the left hand side, I have my to-do list, and to do the lettering that I've talked about, it's very simple. You just write in caps what the header is. So for me, it's going to be a to-do list. Then I have a section for my business, so I'm just gonna write that as well in big lettering. And then I like to be mindful when I am doing my scheduling and my planning to make sure that I'm incorporating mindfulness aspects. So here I'm going to write self-care, and I miscalculated the header, but that's okay. We're going to embrace imperfections, and this should be a little bit more centered, but it's okay. So this is the headers that I wrote. As you can see, not that great lettering, it's just very simple caps. And then I go in, you can use, if you wanted, you could use a colored pen. I have you actually, you know what, let's use the colored pen. Well, I have used the colored pen to match this. That's also a really nice look, but I'm just going to go with black this time because the colors are a little bit more deep. So I'm just going to go over all of these headers in calligraphy or lettering and write it in kind of calligraphy. that's it, that's all. It looks really cute. It's very simple. This, like I said, I do this almost every single day. It doesn't take that long, and once I have a rhythm, I find it really easy to do. So now that I have this side, one thing that I add at the bottom of every single page is a space for a brain dump. I am going to keep that very simple. Take another color that I find goes well is the gray one. Instead of doing a darker color, I find the gray highlighter is probably the most used highlighter that I have. I'm just going to draw a line at the bottom here, give myself a little bit of space to do a brain dump, and then using this Tombow Denos, I cannot say this properly, so I won't even try. It's a brush pen. I will do lettering at the bottom to have space for a brain dump. I just realized I was not in the shot, but that's okay. So let me just write brain dump. If you're not into calligraphy, if you don't like your handwriting, don't feel as though you have to do this, but this is just to show you how I do it and to give you some ideas. But I've been wanting to challenge myself this year to improve my calligraphy, so every single day I am doing a bit of lettering, and it's a really easy way to practice my calligraphy. The next thing that I'm going to add is my washi tape. So a cool thing with washi tape is that you can use it however way you want. You can hide things as well. So in the Hobonichi Cousin, there is different quotes every single day. I don't necessarily look at them, and you can also put washi tape on top of each other to create a layering effect. So it's really versatile as well. You can also use your washi tape to separate different sections. I like using it at the bottom just to add a bit of color, and I'm going to add the gold as well. Random tip, but cutting it and having the sides really straight versus just tearing it. So I kind of eyeball how much I want and just tearing it. That way the sides are a little bit more rustic. Adds another little random nice little touch to your page. So small little tip here, and that's it. I'm just gonna leave the washi tape for now here. At the top, I personally like to put an affirmation, although I forgot to do that today, so I am going to add that element now. I could add a few more elements, but for now, I'm going to leave it as is. Tomorrow morning when I wake up and I'm going to organize my day, I am going to write things out, and I will be using a fountain pen shimmery color to add a little bit more of an element, a little more of an aesthetic element to my page, but otherwise that's it. This is a very, very simple page, but I still think that it looks really nice. As you can see, I do it in my planner all the time, and I just find it's just a really easy way to make my pages look a lot more aesthetic by adding these small elements. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, and if you have any specific questions or tutorials that you would like to see on how I do maybe the lettering or how I make some of these creative spreads. I'd love to help you along your journaling journey, to inspire you and help you along the way. Let me know if you have any questions, and if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe as I'm trying to grow my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sending you a lot of love. Bye for now.